don't think there was a deadline date on that flyer, though. Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen, March 9th, 2015. If we can rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Don't forget to sign the warrant. Why don't we bring Mr. Howard up here for our town planner. Talk a little bit about the articles for the annual town meeting and the bylaw amendments that you guys are proposing and what they mean in English.
Thank you to the Board of Selectmen for having me in to discuss. I provided a written report, I believe was included in your packet for tonight's meeting. The planning board is bringing forth to the selectmen 5 amendments, 4 directly from the planning board and 1 in support of the efforts of the Affordable Housing Task Force. The first and second amendment, the amendments to the bylaw are being considered definition and word uses. There's a subtraction we're wishing to make. Currently, in the definition section of the bylaw, there is a definition for planned unit development. That article was removed from the actual zoning bylaw sections in the past, so this is just cleaning up the bylaw. So there isn't a use defined that's not in the bylaws as being described of what the use is and how to implement.
So planned unit development no longer exists as an official term for us in the bylaws?
In the bylaw section, right, it's not a use, it's just something that's defined. Also, amendment number 2, definitions and word usage. The planning board has voted and is wishing for the Board of Selectmen to include on the warrant 2 definitions, medical office and open space residential development. Open space residential development is in our bylaws, but it's not defined. It's not defined in the bylaw section. It's just the purpose and intent, so there isn't a definition. Medical office has existed for a while without a clear definition, and we're expecting in the future more uses coming into Georgetown having to do with medical office. So we sought a definition for that.
Boy, I hope so. That'd be nice.
Now, amendment number 3 is to the use regulations and intensity of use schedule. We're wishing to modify it. In the back of the zoning bylaw, the use regulation intensity of use schedule basically takes all the uses that are considered in the bylaw and tabulizes them so there's easier reference to how they are permitted in town if they are. For instance, there may be a use that is site plan approval process, or it may be through special permit with either the planning board or zoning board. There is confusion in the use schedule in the fact that there are 5 uses that are in a category of other uses, and it's a slightly arbitrary, harder to interpret category as opposed to residential, industrial, light industrial. So what we're seeking is to modify the use schedule and remove the other use category and instead put them in their appropriate existing use regulations category. For instance, solar energy facilities, which is a proposed bylaw, would be under business use. Commercial radio and television transmission can be moved over into industrial, and then temporary structures is defined under rural use.
So this matrix is really no changes in the actual bylaws, but just to make it clearer for residents to understand where they fit.
Correct. Right. We're still maintaining the same, if it's prohibited or a special permit or approved category for each of the zoning districts. It's just
So no changes to these.
no change.
No questions, Stu? I don't see the housing for elderly?
Housing for elderly is to be removed off the use regulation because it's no longer defined in our bylaws or in the definition section.
Okay.
So it's an arbitrary use that is without, if someone were to come in for housing for the elderly, there's no way for an application to be processed.
Should there be one or no?
Well, it was removed previously. This is just a matter of cleaning up. Housing for the elderly was a use that was removed from the bylaw a number of years ago.
Was it, if I continue, was it because it was discriminatory or something of that sort?
No, we have independent senior housing. We have a ISH bylaw now, which is much more clearly defined in terms of providing.
So what you're saying is we have a provision in there for it, you just want to take this one out because there's another provision for it.
Right, housing for the elderly is an outdated term.
Okay,
But a developer wishing to provide independent senior housing, it's a special permit with the planning board. And it's clearly defined about age category and density and so
okay.
forth.
Why is pipe organ
Could we have a
making on there?
pipe organ manufacturer in town?
Because we have one.
Where is it? I don't ever remember seeing, which one?
It's right downtown, going towards
right?
In the
Bolton,
old
right on the left.
firehouse?
The old
old
brick
school.
building that used to be a church,
Oh, okay,
I think it was the Methodist church.
all right.
Been there for a
Oh,
while.
I've
Yeah,
heard
I didn't realize they were actually doing that,
What's that?
so.
I've heard they're
Gotcha.
leaving, I don't know,
I haven't heard there.
okay.
That's on the end of School Street, right? Is that School Street or Middle?
When you make a left of the light, start going down School Street's on the first,
Right.
and then you keep going, and is there one more street?
So,
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
there is.
Which one's that
Right
going
next
up?
to Scholars.
It's the one
Yeah.
way going up, right next
Yeah, I
to
didn't realize
Scholars.
they were
correct.
still doing, actually
I'm gonna
making.
tell you, right next to Pickering's Hardware, but not there.
Now you're dating yourself, Karen.
They have a concert once in a while when they have an organ
Yeah,
finish. They have
That's
open
neat.
house, so
okay.
Pretty neat.
So previously proposed for inclusion on the warrant from the planning board was the solar energy facility bylaw. This was vetted through town council, and he said last year it needed some additional changes. Those revisions and changes have been made in the public hearing process. So we're bringing it forth for consideration to be placed on the warrant. The bylaw has been reduced, it's more clear and concise. And it's the hope that with being brought into the zoning bylaw, there's ability for the municipalities to start pursuing designation as a green community under the state's Green Communities Act, which will allow us to pursue further grants and access of funds for becoming a greener community. Any specific questions on the solar energy facility bylaw?
I think you spent enough time on that.
Yes, we did. In brief, it's to promote the creation of new solar photovoltaic installations, and it considers ground-mounted and roof-mounted. It does not consider residential. There's a certain protection in zoning for residential use only. It also considers the fact that Georgetown has their own municipal light department, and there's a certain amount of connection laws that need to be met, so that's considered as well. That's been integrated into the bylaw.
Now, that wasn't put forward last year, right?
What's that?
That one wasn't put forward last year on the warrant.
The solar energy, I thought
Yeah.
it was last year. I didn't think we had skipped a year. It was brought onto the warrant, and I believe went through town council, and he said that it needed more work, so it didn't go to
Okay.
town meeting.
Wasn't available
Left over.
for prime time.
That's what, yeah, it got passed over.
Yeah.
Where the next one, I think, did get approved.
So amendment number 5 is being proposed by the Georgetown Affordable Housing Task Force. And this is to preserve or create additional accessory housing units within currently owner-occupied homes for the purpose of providing affordable housing units. Currently in Georgetown, through special permit with the zoning board, you are allowed to create an accessory apartment for the purposes of what a lot of people refer to as an in-law apartment. And in-law apartments are usually defined as being occupied by somebody through blood or marriage. Quite often, those relations are either move on to some other place, and the homeowner is left with just an in-law special permit with the zoning board. This accessory affordable housing bylaw proposes the ability for them to come back to the zoning board and modify the special permit, apply for a new special permit to allow that to be rented to affordable housing purposes. Now, the bylaw as presented is one page, but there's probably at least 25 supporting pages of conditions that need to be met, and those conditions are set forth by the Department of Housing and Community Development. So that section is not included. It's too many pages, but it is referenced.
Okay.
In that is the allowance of how, if a unit is converted over, it needs to go to lottery. It needs to, all the standards and guidelines of family size, salaries, all need to be met. And there is what is referred to as a local initiative program, which is a permit through DHCD that needs to be placed with the unit. If that unit is accepted by DHCD and rented out for affordable housing to a qualified resident, it then counts towards the subsidized housing inventory, the SHI, which everybody knows is the 10% rule. And currently Georgetown's at 11, but there's been numerous subdivisions in the past that have been built where the money has been given as opposed to affordable housing units being constructed. This bylaw amendment also allows a current homeowner who's wishing to create affordable accessory unit to come in. It's not necessarily just converting an in-law apartment, but it's allowing them to build a certain size apartment onto their house for the purposes of renting for affordable housing.
Gotcha.
There has been, through the public hearing process, a lot of concern voiced about who's going to be allowed in there, how they're going to qualify, and all that is handled with the Department of Housing and Community Development. So, for instance, there is a concern that someone might construct an 800 square foot unit off their house and rent it to a family of 4. Well, the DHCD guidelines, in order for it to be qualified, it can only be rented as a 1 bedroom for a single occupant. So all those conditions are in place.
Okay.
Question on that? I mean, I believe as it went forth last year, it has to be in owner occupied.
Correct.
So it's still that way.
The main
It's
house.
not like somebody could come in, buy a place and start turning it into 2 affordable units.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. It's technically not a 2-family. It's an accessory apartment, just like an in-law. It has to be owner occupied. In the bylaw, there's a provision that, because in the state of Massachusetts, owner occupied is 6 months and a day. And this is saying, well, you need to live in your residence for 10 months, allowing for trips or extended stays in Florida.
Okay.
All right, good. That was the one that I know most of us had questions on for sure.
The planning board recommended to the selectmen with a vote of 3-1 in the affirmative.
What was the one dissenting vote all about?
That was the chairman, and he believed that it still needed more work to address some of the concerns.
How are you feeling about it, as is presented?
As is presented, it's it's based upon the accessory in-law apartment right now. So the mechanisms are there for the special permit. The mechanisms for more definition of who is allowed in the unit is through DHCD.
Yeah.
So it may be somewhat confusing, but once an application is made, then a lot of things will have to fall into place.
Okay, so that communication or chain or that process and what is allowable, and so that person would know.
Yes, and the
Or would let them know.
expectation is that if someone wanted to come in and either modify their existing in-law apartment or create one for affordable housing, that they would need to meet with the task force to understand all the conditions that are required.
Mhm.
Then need to meet with the building inspector to understand all the building code requirements. So it's even though it's one page, as I said, there's 20 pages of supporting
Right.
documents.
So just, so as a trustee on the Affordable Housing Trust, as we've gone through this, I mean, this is probably the easiest mechanism for us to build that required amount of stock that we need for affordable housing units in there. It is, it's, you know, for a homeowner, I mean, it's not perfect in the fact that, you know, you can't just get market value for it because you're going through affordable housing. And you're creating an affordable housing unit for it. So, I think this is a step in the right direction to start with. I'd like to see it go further at some point.
Right.
If somebody
You know.
does that, let's say they add on, and they have it as affordable housing, does that go on that deed rider for that whole property forever?
No, just the permit.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
The deed rider is what a lot of people know of, that's placed on a single-family home.
Yeah, okay.
It's very similar to what this local initiative program document is that needs to be signed.
Okay.
And it is recorded at the registry, so it does ride with the special permit.
Okay.
Once the person leaves that's renting the unit, or if the homeowner no longer wishes to rent it out for affordable housing,
Okay.
then the term of the lease needs to expire, the special permit will expire.
Okay.
And then it is a follow-up with the municipality to ensure that it doesn't become rented out as just an apartment.
And that would fall to what, the building inspector to follow up on that, make sure it's not being abused?
Well, it would be the zoning code enforcement officer would need to make sure that all the building codes, the special permit issuing authority with the planning board, but also with DHCD, that there'll be notice that this unit is no longer being rented.
Mhm.
One thing that the trust is currently looking into is joining up with other municipalities to pool resources and to be able to pay a single entity, a single person to be able to go out and do the monitoring for not only the affordable housing units that are on our books right now, but any accessory apartments that might come into
Okay.
development.
But for now, it falls to the code officer to do that.
It's actually the task force, the zoning board, because they're the permit granting authority,
Okay.
as well as the building inspector.
Okay. So there is a stopgap checking, and then let's say one expired, they didn't renew it, but then somebody's going to check on that location and make sure it's not being rented to the wrong people or
Correct.
inappropriately. Okay.
Well, that's, for me, the drawback is you can't rent it, you can't choose your tenants, and I don't know what homeowner's gonna wanna, as I suppose there may be a few, but are gonna want the government picking their tenants.
Yeah, I mean, if a
That's-
homeowner goes that whole route, they know what they're signing up for.
Yeah,
It's their decision. So
It goes to a lottery, and if they want to rent it out, then they need to accept
yeah.
the person that wins.
yeah,
I don't,
yeah. I mean, if a
maybe you'll
homeowner,
get a lot signing on, I don't really see it, but
yeah, I don't know. Okay.
Like I said, I think it's a step forward.
it's an effort. It's
Yep.
Point of clarification, please. When you say the Affordable Housing Task Force is responsible for the enforcement,
Well, the task force is expected to be the entity that if someone comes in and says, I would like to be able to construct one of these affordable housing units, the task force will help them understand the conditions and requirements. And then they can move into getting a permit with the special permit granting authority.
but they're not gonna have anything to do with the monitoring of it, are they?
No, that'll fall with DHCD.
And the local building inspector?
Yeah.
Another question, Stu, more for Mike, where he's got the three different amendments now. Are we covered under the one article? We'll put them all under that, or do we have to put in some separate articles?
I have to review that. I thought there were only 3 amendments. I didn't know there were 5.
Yeah, because we've got the article for solar energy and the accessories, and then the one for the use regulations.
Well, you could very easily place I broke it out just for clarification.
So we could.
Or
put
a subtraction, addition, and then modifications. Those could probably all be placed under a single
So we could
warrant
do
article.
1, 2, and 3 possibly under the one article.
Right, and then
Yeah.
3 would, the second would be solar energy, the third would be the affordable housing.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, I'm good. I think that these,
According to state law, and in accordance with the Attorney General's office, all these proposed bylaws were vetted through the public hearing process and advertised in the local paper. And several meetings were held for opportunity for people to come in.
yeah, I think you guys have gone through the right process. I agree with Gary. It'll be interesting to see if anyone picks this up on the accessory apartments first for affordable housing. Our hope is that
We had 2 people come for both public hearings
we're homeowners.
who were homeowners, and
Go
they
look
voiced
at
their
that.
concerns about it, but we'll see what happens at town meeting.
Okay.
It's just, to me, I don't know if it's, I've asked this question, if it's the way Georgetown does it, or if it's just the way the state tells you you've gotta do it, but this affordable housing thing is just such a mixed up bag of stuff. You know,
In what way?
well, if somebody is right now, has a place, and they're renting it at what probably is an amount that meets, but because it's not on the state books, I'm told that it doesn't count. So, you know, if you've got some places in town that are maybe renting, I don't know what the figure is, but maybe renting for $800 a unit, I would think that they would be considered affordable. But unless they're tied, I'm told, unless they're tied in with the state, they're not considered affordable, and that's where and that's nothing,
Well,
well, we can attempt to change it.
Well, they have, I mean, as a homeowner, you have a right to rent your whatever for whatever price you want. And the bigger question is the person renting a qualified affordable housing unit prospect? That's the bigger question that we have to.
And
They both have to. They
I
both have
think
to.
we should,
This is not to be confused with low income either, because
Yes, I agree, yeah.
the affordable housing for a family of 3 is a household income of $63,000, I believe. So
I think we need to be, I've never made one of your meetings, I'd like to, I think we need to be looking at some zoning for this also, not just the rental. I know right now from what I understand, because of being on CPC, you're focusing on rental, which was probably a good place to start, but I do hope that somewhere down the road, we try to work with planning on perhaps getting some zoning where we could get some homes built that people can consider affordable.
Come to our meeting. We'd love to get your questions, because if it's on your mind, it's on others.
Sounds good. All right, we good?
Okay.
Everybody satisfied? Thank you for coming in.
all right, good.
Thanks,
Howard.
Howard.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
All right,
Appreciate the clarification.
glad I could help. Have a good night.
Have a good night, man.
All right, we have a request for a one-day beer license from the GAA for a beer tasting at Camp Dennison on May 9th. Mr. Molis is here to discuss. How are you?
How you doing?
Come on up. Welcome.
Good evening.
How you doing?
All right.
This was pretty much the same as last year, right?
Yeah, no major changes to what we did last year, you know, police detail, insurance, policy. I think it was $1 million general liability last year, naming Georgetown on there as well. Limited ticket sales, so that's probably one of the things I want to stress about this event. I think we limited it to 200 ticket sales last year, so no tickets were sold at the door. And with limiting it to that number, you're basically, the people attending the event are the parents of the Georgetown lacrosse. So you don't have anybody coming from out of town. And even with that, we We had the police officer there. We carded every one that attended. We had wrist bracelets that people wore after getting carded, and I mean, 0 issues last year. And we raised, I think, about $7,000 for Georgetown lacrosse.
Great.
So,
It was a good event. I attended. It was fun.
yeah, and I mean, the feedback we got from the people that attended was just, unbelievable.
Yeah. They
You know,
loved it.
saying, one lady even told my wife, I'm so glad I live in a town that could, pull an event like this off and be able to do something like this, and not only that, taking advantage of that resource that we have
Yeah, it's a great spot.
down there.
I know Boxford were complaining a little bit, but
Yeah, we're gonna
That's their
figure out a
problem,
way
not
to
ours.
deal with that. Feeks can't put his amp up to 11,
yeah,
I
we'll
guess.
tone
or
them down a little,
To
whatever.
11.
Spinal Tap reference.
They go to
there,
sex,
but,
maybe.
yeah,
No, that was fun though. Everybody had a good time.
yeah.
Yeah, it was good. I think we're hoping you have another one every weekend for the rest of the year, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
It was great.
It really was. Any questions, gents? I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the application for permission to serve and sell alcoholic beverages at Camp Dennison from the Georgetown Athletic Association, which will be held on May 9th, 2015, as so submitted.
All right, do I have a second?
Second, is question though, is it the athletic association or should it be the lacrosse or?
Well, it's part of GAA lacrosse, the
Okay.
Georgetown Athletic
Okay,
Association, but specifically to the lacrosse.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
all right.
Doing business, my friend.
All right.
You gonna have the snow all out of there by the 29th?
You guys
We
may
hope,
be
yeah,
need a
might be some,
shoveling party.
Skiing maybe we'll do as a
I know,
side
we-
event, but
We'll build a snowboard ramp or something.
yeah,
You know?
no, it should be out of there.
At least mud.
Yeah.
Mud bowl.
Mosquitoes to deal with probably, but
All right, good stuff. This sounds like a fun
Yeah,
event
you
again.
guys have a
Alright.
blast. Good luck
I don't
selling
pick
all
up
the
anything
tickets.
tonight, do I? Or is it-
No, we'll get all this stuff figured
All
out.
right,
and-
appreciate it, guys.
All right, thanks for coming in.
Have a good evening, man.
There's a request from the Mike Donahue Race Committee to hold the annual event on Sunday, October 18th at 12. That's item number 2. They're talking about using Pearly Gym for pre-race number pickup on Saturday the 17th. Event's been very successful. There's been no issues. You haven't had any issues from police, fire, anybody?
No.
My daughter ran in it last year, loved it. So I'd entertain a motion to approve that request for the Mike Donahue Race Committee, the annual event, Sunday, October 18th, 2015 at 12 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great event. Okay, discussion on and vote on articles for town meeting warrant, which is Monday, May 4th, and the special town meeting warrant, which is also Monday, May 4th.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
on page 4 of 7, and it's
The
third
highlight.
article up from the bottom. I just wanted to point that out, that the article that you added at our last meeting is in the warrant for the Council on Aging Senior Center.
Okay.
I didn't, the amount of money is always included in the,
On the
Motion.
floor. Okay.
so this just, and I included sum of money to modify and equipped.
Okay.
So
Great.
whatever's necessary, that should cover it. And at the Saturday Finance Committee meeting, part of the discussion centered around the warrant articles, the CIP warrant articles associated with the various departments. And as we'll discuss a little later, the Finance Committee told the department heads that it's highly unlikely that any of the CIP articles will be funded at town meeting. And when they were talking to the police chief, he had an article in the warrant on the annual town meeting for $4,100 for police academy expenses for a recruit. So it was suggested by the finance committee that that article would have a better chance of being funded at the special town meeting.
Okay.
That by then they would know, particularly if there was money left in the reserve fund, it could be used to fund that warrant article.
Okay.
So, I deleted
That's where
it.
that is here.
Yeah, I deleted it from the annual town meeting warrant and slipped it into the
Okay.
special town meeting warrant. So you, technically, you're gonna have to open the special town meeting and add that to the warrant. And actually, I guess to be technically correct, probably, open the annual town meeting warrant and delete it. Or just
Oh.
in one motion, move it from
Tonight?
one to the other.
You're talking about tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Gotcha. Okay. Were there any other additions or deletions here? I doesn't
no.
appear to be from the last one I
No,
looked at.
I'm still waiting on some legal opinions on those other articles, especially the revolving fund articles.
Yep. Okay.
I spoke with legal counsel today, that's still on the work in progress
Okay.
for them.
All right. So we still have some time. Did we want to, gentlemen? Did you want to go through these one by one and vote on them tonight, or do you want to wait till the next meeting and see if we get more members?
I would, for me, I would wait until we know also what finance and advisory is doing.
Okay.
But wasn't there another one that was coming off? Was it the trees, Mike? The tree removal? I thought that there was two that that they thought weren't.
Yeah, actually, the police chief did mention he could do without the trees this year. You could take it off or just pass it over at
Pass
the
it
meeting
over.
I
too.
don't have my notes from that, so
Yeah, you're right though, Gary. He offered, he told the finance committee that, you know, the worst of the trees were removed
that,
last spring.
yes.
This is around the public safety, right?
Yes.
1530. Okay.
The dangerous ones have been removed through the tree warden budget.
Okay.
And these were additional. They
Additional.
still haven't determined even if they're on town land yet.
So I guess if I might continue with the questions, Stu, you feel that where we've got it listed under old business, discussion and vote on articles, that would allow us to open and close it tonight?
Yes.
So would what was FinCom's point of view? Is it because of the snow deficit, basically?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm
The frozen water deficit
I'm prepared to get into that in detail.
is. Are the voting machines likely to come off of that too?
Yes.
Okay, so everything from the voting machines down on the consent calendar would go.
At this point in time, as I'll explain later, there are some options. So I wouldn't take them off. I'd leave them on and pass over them depending upon the.
So you feel the one to really worry about tonight is the police academy one, so that gets moved to the correct one. And
Yes, and matter of fact, he's gonna need the money. We didn't really think this through. He needs
it
the
sooner,
money
doesn't it?
this
This year's
fiscal
budget.
year,
Right.
not in
Right.
FY16.
Right. Isn't that? Don't they start in June or April? I thought
There's-
April and June classes or something.
There's various ones all over the state, and
Yeah.
he couldn't get the officer in the one that he was
Was
hoping
shooting for. Okay.
But there's another one that will actually, I think, span both fiscal years.
Okay.
also on the other, he is returning some money, correct? Wasn't he? thought was it did a 31 for an officer that he didn't feel he was gonna need, that we'd already transferred, and he thought he wasn't gonna be able to use it, and that was coming back.
Yes,
Reserve.
yeah.
Yeah, so,
I mean, because they talked about if they transferred it to him out of, if they funded that out of the reserve fund, then at the end of the year, well, they both go to free cash anyway.
yeah.
So if he had enough money to actually fund it, he wouldn't need it. And he'll have a better view. Well, it's 2 months away, so he may have enough he may have the 41 in his budget and not
Okay.
need this either.
Are we gonna see like on the CPC stuff here?
I can
The
perhaps-
the vote from them? on the
we
articles?
will be voting on that a week from tomorrow.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
should be able to get that
Yeah,
info?
we hope to get that's our calendar, and I've made it aware that we're trying to move things ahead so that next year maybe we can try to move that process up so that
Okay.
we have it in a better time management. It's sort of the time management that they've been doing for the past few years, but we will see next year if we can move it ahead so that we clearer defined, I guess, at this time of year,
Okay,
which is what we're looking to put in SOP, right?
yep, exactly. Okay, good. And then, was FinCom gonna vote on any of these, other than the CPC stuff?
N-
Are they gonna give us any feedback from them at
Oh,
all on any of them?
yes, they definitely will. On the next Wednesday, they're having an additional meeting just to review the school budget.
Okay,
That's on the 11th.
okay,
But then they have deliberations and although until they get the CPC articles, I don't know when they're gonna be able to vote on that either.
okay.
But I don't know when they're going to vote on the articles per se.
Okay. So it's good when we get the board's feedback on that stuff.
Will you just help us understand what meetings are happening that we should be at, especially when it comes to going through the budget and stuff like that?
Yeah, they're,
Not now.
Oh,
just,
okay.
Just they're coming
Yeah,
up
just-
a week ahead if you.
Yeah,
Sure.
if you shoot them out, that would be helpful, definitely. Okay.
Because CPC, remember, CPC is funded, that money's there, so that's,
True.
That's the good news.
Yeah. What else, Mike? Anything else on these?
no, on the warrant itself.
Okay. All right, so we'll hold off on a vote until we hear more. Is that where you guys
I
want
would
to go with
say,
these?
but I think we wanna
Okay.
Yeah,
open and close and open and close.
So, do we want to do that tonight to move the police academy expense to the town?
I think that's what Mike was
Yes.
suggesting we do.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to open the annual town meeting warrant for May 4th, 2015.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And so we are going to, with this,
And then open the special town meeting warrant.
as
So
well?
we
Yeah.
open the special town meeting for May 4th, 2015.
second,
All right, all those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
I'd recommend you transfer that article from one to the other.
Which article is it?
So the article,
1533,
yeah, so
Yes, ATM 1533.
entertain a motion to transfer Article ATM 1533 from the annual town meeting to the special town meeting warrant.
So
second,
moved.
All right, all in favor?
aye.
Aye. Okay. Entertain a motion to close the annual town meeting and the special town meeting warrants.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Anything on financial management, Mike?
No,
Frozen ice report?
but I have a budget update.
Okay, budget update.
Did you have a bake sale to show here?
Well, a lot happened in the world of municipal finance this week. The cherry sheet from the governor's House Bill 1 was released. It's double-sided, so just take one and pass it on. And this is good news so far. Long story short is the estimated revenues have increased to the town by almost $100,000, $97,769. That includes a 0.52% increase in Chapter 70 of 27,780. Right now, school choice receiving looks to be the biggest winner. It's a 37% increase, or 52,785. The general government unrestricted aid went up 3.6% for an additional 22,948. There were a few losses in the veterans' benefits, and public libraries went down $149. But the end result is, as I said, a 1.56% over last year's cherry sheet revenue. So that's we've been pretty much level funded for the last many years, and this came with a warning, though. When we had our legislative breakfast on Friday, which was extremely well attended.
Is it up here?
Yes.
Okay.
We had almost standing room only.
Wow.
We had tables in a rectangular all the way back to the door, in a big horseshoe U, and then we had people lined up on the walls too. There was over 40 people here, 40 from the towns in the area. But we also had two state reps. Our representative, Mira, was in attendance, and Brad Hill, representative from Ipswich, was here, and we had two state senators. Barbara L'Italian was here. She's no longer, she used to be our rep here, a portion of the town. She's now over in North Andover and Tewksbury and Methuen, and I think she even goes out to Drake. And our own Senator Tarr was here too.
Good.
So a lot of good questions, good discussion, but Senator L'Italia cautioned everybody in the room that this probably won't stay the same.
Gonna make up that $750 million gap somehow.
Yeah, so that's put a little damper on the feelings, but it's a good place to start anyway.
Question. The veterans, is that somewhat perhaps based on how many are in town, or do you know if the overall budget went down, or
That I don't know.
any idea on that, Phil?
Our budget did not go down for the district. I think the reimbursement back to the district is going down a little bit, so it will impact the budgets and the service levels for the districts. Now, this isn't, in the grand scheme of thing, our portion of this isn't that large, but when you have all the districts at a 15-16% decrease, if other towns are having some similar, it will have a significant, I would think it would have a significant impact. We haven't had a board meeting to discuss the implications of it, but it's a lot of money if across the board.
Yeah, well, right there, 15%, but I just
Yep.
wonder if, how they base, what we get, if perhaps there was a census that said we don't have as many veterans in town as we did, or,
Good question.
That's-
I'll,
I don't think
find
that's
that out.
formulaic, I think it's across the board.
I believe so.
If anything, our veterans are going up, not down, because of the latest wars we've had, so.
And then the second part of the cherry sheet is the assessments, or the takeaways. And in past, when they actually increase the revenues, they increase the takeaways too, and it's almost a net wash. This year, however, the takeaways declined by $14,000. So last year we paid out 341,441. This year it's only 327,110. So we're spending 14,331 less.
a question, are they funding the charter school sending tuition in a different way? Because it went from 10,111 to 0?
They haven't released that yet.
Okay.
That has yet to be determined.
There was another one, yeah, special education. Went to
Yeah, that also hasn't been determined yet.
Because, I mean, other than dropping them, really, some of them other payments did go up, so.
So
Yeah.
so it's the other way though.
I'm wondering
So
if
they're not asking for us to reimburse them for a portion of that this year,
Not yet.
not yet.
Yeah.
Mike, what's the MBTA portion on this? Do they just send that across to the towns, every town in the Commonwealth?
Yes.
Because we don't have any bus transportation or any bus stops.
We,
Citizens in town do take.
yeah, we're.
Yeah,
we're-
they're talking about just for
They-
like the
they
rail
apportion it
system.
based
Yeah, I
on
mean,
the-
they spread it across all the towns in the
Yeah, and
Commonwealth
I'm-
generally.
Well, we do have buses, but I think they're private.
And then there's the Merrimack Valley Regional
Transportation.
No,
Transit.
the
Yeah,
regional
that-
transit, that's the
that-
Merrimack
That's
Valley.
the other one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was figuring that the MBTA was spread probably across.
I don't
all the
know if
towns,
that's
cities, and-
all, my understanding is it's just the Boston region.
Oh.
Well, no, because there is a Boston Metro, which is, I think that's what you see in around the
Yeah,
airport.
with the 0-0.
And we're 0-0 on that. So,
So you're saying, Mike, that the MBTA line item on this may not be even applying to us?
No, it
No, it's
applies.
in, but-
It does.
We contribute.
Okay. So then, is it, it is what it is. I
Right.
would suspect that there's a formula and a radius and the estimated amount of people using the MBTA based on the geographic location and the availability of stuff, so some smart genius put in some crazy algorithm together, I'm sure.
Probably. Okay.
that's an area that does need work, I think. We're sort of right in the middle of two rails. You got the one that goes to Haverhill, Bradford, and one that goes to
Yeah.
Raleigh, Newburyport, and I've often thought if at one time they were talking about opening up parking down by 95, and I thought, boy, if they could do that and get a bus perhaps going back and forth to the rail stations through town, we could perhaps pick up some business or something. So,
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many people
Yeah.
take the train and take the bus.
So if I'm
from
going in, I
First.
try to take it.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Of course, I get my discount, so.
Love it. All right. thank you,
We
Mike.
are on a MBTA board. We get notices
Oh,
for,
okay.
for when they have the meetings.
They did have a bus at one point. They tried to go over to Rowley, I think. I don't think it was enough people took it to keep it.
Right now, we haven't got any place to park anyway. Our parking is full, so.
Yeah, well, it was a bus from Georgetown that went over to
Yeah.
Rowley, but it didn't have
So,
enough.
and Logan Express is not through the MBTA though, right? That's a,
I think that's C&J, I think, isn't it? Or-
but are they contracted through, by the MBTA?
Yeah, I believe they are.
Logan
Oh, I
Express.
would have thought they were
Yeah.
contracted with Massport.
Oh, you're right, it
Yeah,
is
That would be
Massport.
Massport.
Yeah,
right? Okay.
you're right. Okay,
Is this the frozen water report?
it is.
I don't wanna look at it.
Frozen bank account report.
Don't.
Frozen, it's leaking, what are you
It's
talking
leaking.
about?
It's non-existent. It's
Um,
ugly. Crap. Really?
we have
Oh man.
run through all our free cash.
Really?
That's the bad news.
Stu, you gotta take a pay cut.
All right. Give me -0.00.
We've had total expenses for snow and ice of 376,302. That doesn't include the bills for the roof snow removal of the schools, the town hall, and the safety building. That's 113,000, 1,700, and 1,900 respectively. So our total snow and ice expense to date is $492,902. We have budgeted $104,000. So the total deficit is $388,902 thus far. And as you can see, we normally use free cash to pay off the deficit, and free cash balance is $385,154. The deficit, as I stated, $388,902, means our deficit is in deficit by $3,748.
That's assuming we don't get another snowstorm.
Right.
Our deficit's in deficit.
All right. No more snow this year.
Yes, well, I'll let Mike go on and I'll ask the questions.
Yeah. Now,
Explain what
there's
Let's play in the second page.
Yeah, there's a lot happened in conjunction with this week. There's, well, the Division of Local Services, I'll go down to the addressing snow and ice deficits. The legislature, the state government is going to put out
this is the one, yeah.
a supplemental budget. Although at this point, they're not providing actual funding for any of the deficits, but they are going to allow,
Oh, an amortization mechanism.
yeah,
Okay.
the towns to pay the deficit over a 2-year period.
How does that work? We've spent the money.
We use next year's money to,
We only,
That's the question that, and
Yeah,
and
we'll
then they
only-
may fund some of that.
yeah, you know,
So we pay the contractors
basically,
late?
no, we've
No, I'm asking.
spent the money,
Yeah.
we put in a budget next year.
Yeah.
but to fund that deficit, we would only have to fund 50% of it.
Or less, or
No, at least half, or
less.
more. No,
I thought we could pay more this year. You could pay 80% and
Yes.
fund 20%.
yes,
Right?
yes,
So it's less than half. It's 50% or less is what needs to be budgeted for deficit to amortize over the year. So we have to pay at least 50% this year.
yes,
Okay. Maybe I'm not
But
wording
you
it
can
right.
pay more.
and you can pay more.
Okay.
And that, the finance committee was very concerned about, having that bill hang over our heads next year if we're in the same situation again with a
Sure.
terrible winter. However, there's another area of funds that aren't going to help us at all this year, but and that's the FEMA money. Right now, we went through the FEMA procedure on that first big blizzard that we had on January 26th through the 28th. We sent in all our forms and money.
You don't have the names like Peter, Mike?
Pardon me?
You don't have the names of them like Peter did?
Uh,
Juno or Nemo or something, I forget.
No, I go by dates.
Works for me.
So, if nothing else happens, we spent approximately $80,000 on that first storm. That's reimbursable, and FEMA would pay us back 75% of that, or $60,000. That right now seems like our worst case scenario. Now, what they've done, and this is unprecedented and has yet to be approved, but FEMA is looking at combining all 4 snow events that we had from January 26th through the middle of February. And if right now we've filled out all the applications, Georgetown could be eligible for reimbursement of 75% of $180,000. That includes the first storm. Or we could be reimbursed up to $135,000. So worst case scenario is 60 grand. Best case scenario is 135.
So if we were, if we were to amortize that, right, so the 60 is probably a given, because we're gonna get that back. We have a high confidence we'll get the $60,000 back.
Yes.
And then, to hedge our bets, you could go up to 135,000,
Yes.
or somewhere in between, and we'd be in some risk area, but at least the 60,000 should be covered.
Right, and we won't see that money until FY16 anyway, when the other money is
So,
due.
if I may.
One sec, does that include the MEMA IDA submissions that the chief did?
Yes,
These numbers?
yes.
Okay, all right, just wanna make sure. All
Yeah,
right.
that's where I got the, I got those numbers from the IDA
Okay.
submission, which I believe the chief sent in a email
Yep,
to everybody.
yep, okay. Go ahead, Gav, sorry.
So I guess in simple terms, I'll use the larger of the two numbers. If what we did, we stretched 135,000 out into next year, that would allow us $135,000 into our free cash for this year for some of the, I guess that's what I'm asking, the benefit in doing it. That would allow some money to stay in free cash for some projects this year.
Yes, I believe it would. That is an option,
Okay.
and I would recommend that option, because as of now, there is zero free cash. Unless we take advantage of the amortization of it, we wouldn't be able to fund any of those warrant articles.
Right.
With the exception of the ones that would actually qualify under the, well, there's 2 ways to fund them. We could fund them out of the tax stabilization fund, or there's $65,000 in the capital stabilization fund. Both require a 2/3 vote to take money out, but the capital fund has to be spent on a capital item. Stabilization can be spent on anything.
And how much is in the stab fund roughly?
1.1 million.
Okay.
We do know we're taking out $77,000 for the fire truck payment.
As stab.
Yeah, we've been doing that for
Forever.
a number of years. We were hoping not to have to do it. The only good thing about taking it out of the stabilization fund, we do have a bond call in September. And that's when they look to see, you know, if you're hitting the stabilization fund for any purposes. They won't be looking at FY 15.
Oh,
They only look at the
Previous.
the previously audited year.
Yeah, okay.
So we could get dinged on,
Subsequent years.
yeah.
But
at
we've been
least we
doing
have
that all
time to-
along though, so why wouldn't they? Oh, because we haven't been bonding that much in the past, right? So they wouldn't have been.
Right,
looking
and,
at
and we still had it within that, you know, just within a hair of
Still kept
5%. We're dropping below 5% now.
Oh,
It's like 4.7, 4.6.
okay.
So it's gonna, they're gonna start to notice it.
Yeah, okay.
It's
Now-
still not real bad,
Yep.
but it's not stellar either.
J- Two questions, so one's just for my memory, we never did take the money out for the ambulance rehab, right? That
That's
actually had-
correct.
Now, and the other one is, we generally put some money in reserve, is that something that do we do that usually at the, how do we get the money into reserve that we're able, and finance is able to use as the year goes on if they need it?
That's in the operating budget.
Okay, so
That's a
we're,
line item in the operating budget. We
Okay.
fund that at $96,000.
okay. But do they sometimes don't they sometimes put some more in there if we have the free cash or something?
No, we did
No.
it one year because there was a potential crisis with teacher layoffs. We were looking at a
Okay.
potential of about a $400,000
Right.
unemployment
That was
bill.
08 or something, I think.
11,
Oh, 11.
yeah.
What was he? I thought it was 11. It was
Was-
08. Okay. Yeah, that was in anticipation of that.
Okay.
That.
So we do
That
have
event.
money to fund some into the reserve, so.
Yeah, we have, well, we have 56,000 left of the 96,000, and we don't anticipate, you know, last year we had hit it hard, at the end of the year to cover our, utility expenses, cause it was a super cold year,
Right.
and our gas and electric, exceeded the budget, so we needed money for that, and we needed a little bit of money, health insurance as well. So
Now,
we drew down that, I think we had $5,000 left in the reserve fund by the end of the year.
Okay. Anything else on that?
I did,
Are
Just-
they going to have, I'm sorry, go ahead, Gary.
one of the things we talked about when we did the insurance thing with the town employees was we sort of agreed that we would try to fund the other post-employment benefits trust fund. Now, have you been able to find anything for that, Mike, that in the budget? I mean, I know we haven't gotten into that, but I mean, it is.
No, as a matter of fact, I've got numbers from the school committee budget, and I plugged them in. When I didn't have their numbers when I submitted the budget originally to the finance committee, or to you for that matter. I just had last year's figures in there. Actually, I had adjusted them by 1.5%. And the school budget as passed by the school committee is up 2.9%. Don't quote me on that. It's up a lot more than a 1.5%. And the budget stands,
2.46,
yeah, that,
according to this. last, I don't know what the latest.
Oh,
update
yes,
is.
that's that's 2.46 overall increase. It puts the town budget at, right now at 230,000 in deficit for FY15, so we have to find 230,000, a combination of 230,000 in new revenue or less expenses as presented.
And when are they meeting, next Wednesday?
They're reviewing the school budget next Wednesday, yes.
Okay.
Was there anything, did you, I haven't read through their whole budget yet, I just got the book today, but, are there any areas that you saw in there that, They go
I
up
honestly
on-
haven't spent a lot of time going through it.
okay,
I got it on Friday,
okay.
or Thursday, Friday. So no, I haven't had time to look through it. I know there's a number of new positions.
Adding headcount,
Yes,
that include maintenance?
they added a maintenance person, but it's not the type of maintenance person we were talking about. It's a grounds maintenance person.
Full-time nurse, a full-time secretary, and a full-time day custodian. So the new positions I'm reading in here.
What are they gonna do about the maintenance plan we need to come up with? Most of that falls on the schools.
They were, I don't wanna speak for them. I don't. I think they wanted to bring that person on at least half the year, when the new school went online, but I don't know what their plans are right now.
All right. Oh, we'll wait and see what FinCom says and pushes back on.
Yeah. Part of that 230,000 deficit, half of it is due to the almost $100,000 increase again in the tech schools. Our assessment, we have 5 new students at the Whittier. That's 18,500 per. I talked to Essex Agricultural, and they don't know the new count until October. So they told me there's one senior that will go away. They have no idea how many freshmen, so I just left it at 4 people.
So is that all part of the sending?
No,
fund that
that
state
has
does?
nothing to do with that. It's a separate line item. Actually, the Essex was supposed to go in the school budget, but I put it with the education line item, but it's not in the school budget itself. Essex used to be it used to be a cherry sheet charge, but they don't put it on the cherry sheet anymore. They say, put that in your operating budget.
Is that how the lottery got passed? Was to fund education? That was the original intent?
Well, not vocational technical education, I guess.
Okay. Cherry pick the cherry sheet education reimbursements?
I guess if we provided that education, that type of education locally, then we wouldn't be sending people out. But
Yeah.
So that's why
Nobody does it locally. They're all regional now.
Just- probably why we don't have like a wood shop and that at the school anymore.
that's right.
Okay.
Well, that and they cut it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't they have a wood shop? I thought they still do.
They have the machinery. They don't
Oh,
teach
they're
it.
they're
though.
not. I
Yeah.
thought they were still teaching it.
No, not that I'm aware of.
Another question, what are you predicting on insurance costs? I mean, any idea there? Because I know where we changed your plan, we were looking at a saving. Did all of that get eaten up plus, or?
Well, because of those additional 3 people, I added, right now, I have to assume they're gonna be family plans.
Yeah.
So I added $60,000 to health insurance just for that. And I was given a hint from Maya, our health insurance carrier, that the premiums were gonna go up 4 to 5%. So I did
It's not
include.
great, but that's better than the past.
It is, and so with the 60,000 and the 4%, 4 to 5%, when I had increased health insurance by 8%. And the Maya rep was at the meeting on Saturday, and we're supposed to meet this week, but he was kind of sending messages that it's going to be could be more than that. Definitely more than the 4 to 5%. He just indicated that GIC is going to be double-digit increases.
What? Really?
Yeah, but he
Surprise.
Yeah.
he predicted that because all the people who left Maya, the majority of the towns that left Maya were the really heavy users and poor risks. So it was like
Yeah, so it just
So
raised,
GIC
raised
just
their
got piled
operating
on,
costs,
right?
which they
They got
just passed
completely
on.
piled on.
they got piled on not only with the additional administrative costs,
Yeah.
but
But actual payouts.
extra claims
Yep.
too. So they're looking, they're not looking so hot anymore. But so it's not settled yet. We're not in real bad shape, but it could go up a little bit more. But then I also included 4 and 5% for all the other insurances. So if and they're 300, 100,000. So
I say, about what percentage of the budget does insurance?
well, if you include the, I don't have that at the top of my head. It's a high percentage though.
Yeah.
It's right,
Thirty.
if you include insurance and retirement, and retirement we know went up only 7.2%. It's been going up 10% every year.
And that's not doing any better now that the market's doing better? Because I thought,
Well, we're getting closer to fully funded. That's why it went from 10 to 7.2%. They told us to expect 7.2% for at least the next 5 years. And then they'll look at it again on our way to that 30-year time period of full funding.
Okay.
Now, don't ask me about full funding for OPEB, because that's
Honestly, that'll
that's
never
a
happen.
different,
That'll never
horse of a
happen.
different color.
That will never happen in this state.
Yeah, we're gonna need some legislative help there.
But I mean, it'll never happen because there isn't a town other than 1 or 2 in the state that,
Yeah, Wellesley.
yeah, that have fully funded it. And honestly, I don't see the point of fully funding it. I mean, because it doesn't hit you all at once. So why would you fully fund an obligation that doesn't hit you? That'd be like prepaying your whole mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you do that? You can't, number one, and number two, why would you? It just doesn't make any sense to me. But okay.
Well, I've always referred to it as the accountants and actuaries full employment
Act exactly. Okay, so now we know.
well, there really was, even if you funded, there was no mechanism to pull money out of it, right? I thought, or something I mean, I suppose it would have to be funded to do it, but.
Yeah, we have a trust that's the only reason you can take money out is to
to pay that particular
pay the benefit,
benefit, yeah. And would we put 50 in that?
50,000.
Yeah. Is that interest bearing?
It is,
Barely.
yeah, we make about $5
a year.
a year.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I thought we couldn't we get together with other towns perhaps, but you'd probably have to start something like your retirement thing to.
Yeah, I'm not,
I thought that we would be allowed to invest that in other ways than just with a bank or something.
yeah, there are some different things you can do with it.
Can't risk all that $50,000 right now.
No, but I mean, if some, I mean,
yeah.
it's just like you got a whatever you call a commission that runs your retirement fund, and they invest it, you know, so if we all sort of, but the trouble with sometimes those things are people running it, eat up all your profits anyway, so that,
Yeah.
guess you gotta pay people to run it, so maybe you are better off just in the bank.
Throwing it in the mattress.
Yeah, well, you might as well right now.
All right, anything else, Mike?
No, I think brighten everybody's day enough.
Thanks, Mr. Buzzkill. All right, gents, anything on your bring up? Anything? No. All right, so minutes. Do we have minutes in here? We didn't have minutes, did we? Or do we? I didn't see them in here. Okay. No minutes.
You didn't do them.
Oh,
while
that's
were
right. You were on
in Florida?
vacation. Thank you. I'm like, I saw it on the list, but no minutes.
No,
Okay.
We would have shipped you the video to watch.
Yeah.
There you
Put
go.
that on the beach.
All right. Well, our next meeting will be March 23rd at 6:30. We will have a executive session at 6 with
Stu, I
these.
think we better move the meeting start
7?
time to 7
Okay.
to allow for that.
That's all I was gonna say, yeah.
All right.
that'd
Let's
be
do
enough
that.
time.
So
Yeah,
Okay, good idea.
selectmen meeting will be 7. We'll do an executive session with the school committee at 6 on the 23rd. Okay. That sounds good. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have a great night.
All right.